other Arab countries are kicking Jews out of their homes. Okay, what does that have to do with Palestinians in Palestine? Absolutely nothing.
It's a new and improved edition. So Hamzah watched one of the most balanced videos out there. What better way to settle the score online?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hamzah here. Today we will be reacting to this video titled, Did Jews Steal Palestine? First of all, I just wanted to clarify that I disagree with the framing of this title, Did Jews Steal Palestine? The title should be, Did Zionists Steal Palestine? Because we don't have a problem with Jewish people. It's Zionism that is the problem.
Really?
لازم نولع الخوذ جوا ونولع الكوشوك عند اليهود. نولع الكوشوكة ونخليها تدخل عليهم تحرقهم حريق. تحرق الصهاينة الكلاب.
How do we feel about that?
Did Jews steal Palestine? It's a conflict that so many people argue about.
Not conflict.
Activists on both sides make statements that just sounded off. So it's a long history, and it's understandable to be confused. I decided to start at the beginning of recorded human history, and this is one of the most complicated and argued over stories in human
It's
history.
just not complicated, though.
So here's what I learned
It's not
about how both
complicated.
Jews and how a Palestinian identity was born. So let's start as close to the beginning.
If he thinks Palestinian identity comes after all of that, he is just very mistaken. I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know. I think I still have high hopes for this video. Let's just see where he's coming from, yeah?
He is coming from facts and history.
The land was called Canaan. It was a patchwork of city-states and various peoples. Sometime around 1000 BC, Hebrew tribes emerged in the hill country of Canaan. King David made Jerusalem his capital, and his son...
1000 BC is when they came. Their claim is that everything is owned by them because they were here 3,000 years ago.
And yes, we were there 3,000 years ago, but you know who wasn't there 3,000 years ago? Not Arab.
But Jewish rule didn't last long. Their kingdoms fell, and they were exiled. Persia took over next and let the Jews return and rebuild. Then came the Greeks, the Romans, then the Byzantines. Each empire left behind language, culture, and architecture. After crushing two major Jewish revolts, the Romans renamed the province from Judea to Syria-Palestina. Some historians say it was intended as an insult, meant to erase the Jewish identity.
That's a very common Zionist argument that the Romans renamed Judea to Syria-Palestina to mock the Jews. But that's just not true because people refer to that land as Palestine before the Romans even set foot onto the land. If you look at the Greek historian Herodotus in the 5th BC, I just think it's something interesting to look into. I wouldn't take Zionist narratives at face value.
I think it is very interesting. Let's take a look. The renaming occurred right after the Arab Revolt. The area that he referenced was just the area where they first invaded and settled. They were known as the Jews' ancient enemies. This wasn't an isolated incident. The renaming happened alongside other measurements. They also renamed Jerusalem to Aelia Capitolina and implemented other anti-Jewish measurements like restricting Jewish presence at their holy site. So that's why they believe the name was chosen to spy Jews.
In the 600s, Muslim armies came in, bringing the Arabic language and Islamic rule. Jerusalem gained the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which are holy to Muslims as the site of Muhammad's night journey. By the 1800s, the Holy Land was really a little corner of the Ottoman Empire. It was rural, poor, mostly Arab. It was roughly 80 to 95% Muslim, with small Christian and Jewish communities.
But people bring up the fact that the land was majority Muslim, as every land where Muslims end up arriving somehow magically becomes majority Muslim. The point is, despite the fact that the land was majority Muslim, Jews maintained continuous presence. And despite all of that, Jerusalem maintained a Jewish majority.
Actually, during the war, Britain promised the same land to 3 different groups: Arabs, French, and Jews.
They did.
Soon, though, the Ottoman Empire did fall apart. And in 1917, they made perhaps the most famous promise of all.
Yeah, I think he did frame it in order in the beginning, where the Palestinian identity was born, and he's probably going to refer to 1964. I hope he's not going to do that, because before 1917, which he completely forgot to mention, in 1911, there was a newspaper called Palestine, and you guys should look into this, but they wrote about things that happened around that time. I mean, it's a newspaper, news, you know what I mean?
And the declaration excited Zionists, and it horrified local Arabs. For the first time...
Local Arabs. Call them Palestinians. Call them what they are, please.
How come the local Arabs are Palestinian, but the local Jews are not?
The League of Nations gave Britain the mandate to govern the land and to turn that vague national home into reality, while somehow keeping Arab majorities calm. The Jewish national...
He's struggling to say Palestine or Palestinians. Is it just me? The word Palestinians, the identity of Palestinians was not mentioned. He's only saying local Arabs.
Because at that time, there was no such a thing. Because at that time, that's just what they were referencing themselves. Arabs in that land did not call themselves Palestinian either.
اللي في الخليل قالوا إنه
They were Arab
هذول
first.
اليهود بدهم يعني يستولوا على بلادنا.
I don't know what's happening. Let's just continue watching.
National Fund and other Zionist groups began buying tracts of land in Ottoman and later British Palestine. Now,
Okay,
they did it
British
legally,
Palestine.
according to Ottoman and later British law. The sales were legit. I mean, money was paid, deeds were signed, but to the local farmers, it being legal was well beside the point. For centuries,
Yeah, there were legal purchases of land by Jewish people that came in. That's not what we're talking about. That's kind of their narrative, and that's how they go off of it. I don't know if that's what he's doing here, but
No, that's not our
man, I had
narrative.
high hopes, but we're only like 5 minutes in, so let's see.
these Arab, what looked to Zionists like progress, draining swamps, building roads, planting orchards, looked to Arabs like encroachment. So Britain found itself trapped between two truths. Jews believed their land purchases and development proved legitimacy. Arabs believed their continuous presence and cultivation did. Tensions erupted again and again. In 1920, 1929, rumors that Jews were trying to take over the Muslim holy sites sparked riots that left hundreds of people dead.
هذه كانت تيجي من طرف الحكومة وأخذت فكر الناس إنه صحيح هذا وهو مش صحيح. هو تقريبا بس توهيم للشعب.
Hamzah over here is just getting the same news from the same source that has been lying to him about our side all along.
By the mid-1930s, those clashes had evolved into the Arab Revolt, an insurgency aimed at halting Jewish immigration and forcing Britain out.
They're all just like, So what was the Arab Revolt exactly? The Arab Revolt was 3 years long. Not only were they assassinations, suicide bombings, explosives, and extremely brutal and violent revolts, they also were non-discriminate. They attacked British, Jews, and Arab civilians alike.
In 1937, the British Peel Commission proposed a fix. Partition Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. The Jews accepted it reluctantly. The Arabs rejected it. By 1939,
Why?
Hitler rose in Europe.
Explain why they rejected it. The Peel Commission was going to displace 200,000 Palestinians. Look into it.
Why did the Arabs reject it in the Peel Commission? The Arabs opposed the partition in principle because they wanted an Arab majority state. They wanted an Arab majority state from the river to the sea, and for any minority at an Arab majority state at the Middle East, that meant extinction. So the real controversial part was the land swap, because Arabs wanted one single state and didn't want Jews to have any of it, and Jews will be transferring to out of Arab lands.
Britain issued a white paper limiting Jewish immigration and promising an Arab majority state within 10 years. It was a total reversal of their Balfour Pledge. Then came World War II. 6 million Jews were murdered in Europe while British ships turned away Jewish refugees at Palestine's ports. Britain had had enough. They handed the entire problem to the UN and walked away.
I mean, they did try to hand it to the UN, and the UN proposed the partition plan of 1947-1948, which is the 55-45 deal that everyone was talking about, but it didn't go through. Palestinians rejected it. It didn't go through, so the UN really didn't have a hold of it. But
Yes, Palestinians rejected it. They kept rejecting it. They keep elongating the conflict and the problem and then complain about the problem because that's part of the strategy. Without a conflict, they will have nothing to complain about.
On November 29, 1947, the General Assembly voted to partition Palestine into two states, one Jewish, one Arab, with Jerusalem set aside as an international city. Jews saw the plan as a lifeline, a legal and moral foundation for the country they've dreamed of for a long time. Arabs saw it as a betrayal. It was their land and their majority, and now half of it was being handed over to people they saw as recent arrivals, backed by a colonial power. The UN vote triggered celebration in Jewish towns with dancing and singing, but in the Arab towns it triggered rage. The day after the resolution passed, civil war broke out between Arabs and Jews inside Palestine. For about 6 months, violence consumed the region, while British troops stood by. Arab militias blocked the road to Jerusalem, cutting off food and supplies to 100,000 Jews in the city.
Bro.
Jewish convoys were ambushed. Dozens of doctors and nurses were killed on their way to the Haditha
Like what?
hospital. The Jewish forces regrouped under a unified command, launching what they called Plan D, an effort to secure the territory the UN had assigned them, plus some strategic areas beyond that. That plan remains one of the most debated parts of the war. In April, Jewish paramilitaries attacked an Arab village near Jerusalem. Roughly 100 villagers were killed, including women and children. The massacre was condemned by Jewish leaders, but broadcast across the Arab world as proof of what lay ahead. Panic spread, and tens of thousands of Palestinians fled their home. Some from fear, others being pushed out by fighting or by direct expulsions.
so the number is 770,000 Palestinians. I just wanted to say that, once again, if you are not allowed to come back to your home, regardless of how you left or got kicked out, that is expulsion.
So what did Plan Daled really say, and was it necessary? Plan Daled was drafted during military times, meaning they were under real threat of being killed by the invading Arab army. Now, what the plan actually says, if the villagers were hostile, they were allowed to be expelled. But let me show you what we're fighting against.
يعني مناطق النساء اللي ساكنين على الحدود هذه ما تركت مساكنها الآن، قالت لك المقاومة موجودة الآن، لو أنا رحلت العدو الصهيوني يستفرد بالمقاومة، فبقيت في المنازل الدرع الحصين لهذه المقاومة. فالمقاومة لا تعني فقط هي حمل، تعني أشياء كثيرة، واحدة منها حمل السلاح، وأيضا هي حملة السلاح، وبالتالي هي في خضم العمليات العسكرية المرأة.
Within hours, 5 Arab armies, Egypt, Transjordan, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon, invaded. The Arab states said they were coming to defend Palestine, but really they were probably also competing for it.
No, they were not competing for it. What they were doing was fighting back against people that were going to steal their land next. Because if you look at the Declaration of Israel and you look at the map borders, well, there wasn't any and there still aren't any. They're not established.
Israel is not the problem of why is our borders still up in the air. Our borders are majority defined already.
For the Arabs, the outcome was devastating. Roughly 700,000 of them, more than half of their population, fled or were expelled.
More than half of their population. Actually, it was like, yeah, it is more than half, but say the actual number. 80% of their population. I think that's insane. If you think of 700,000 Palestinians today, yeah, we have 15 million of us now, but that's because when a mama bear and a papa bear come together, you have a baby bear. And then that happened over years, and that's, exponential growth. Anyways, 700,000 out of 900,000 Palestinians were kicked out of their homes. Like, that is crazy. And I think he didn't stress that hard enough, but that is just an insane amount.
They could have just accepted the offer that was handed to them, and then none of this would happen. How about you stop starting wars and crying about it when you lose? I don't think you stress that enough.
And only about 150,000 Arabs remained within Israel's new borders. And they became the Arab citizens of the new state.
Yeah.
That exodus was known as the catastrophe. Yeah. But not as many people seem to remember that there was another exodus happening literally at the same time. Between 1948 and the early 1950s, Jews had a Nakba of their own. Roughly 800,000 Jews were forced out of Arab countries.
This has nothing to do with Palestine. Other Arab countries are kicking Jews out of their homes. Okay, what does that have to do with Palestinians in Palestine? Absolutely nothing. It has something to do with Israel for sure, for what they did and the way they established themselves. Of course, countries started kicking them out after Israel's establishment.
You see that cut? Hamzah realized that the fact that Jews were being ethnically cleansed of the Middle East, they had nowhere else to go. The Israelis are fully aware that we're stuck together.
Hug me, brother!
I think this is something you guys need to look into for sure. Look up Avi Shlam. Avi Shlam, I met him personally. Amazing guy. He's a British-Israeli historian, and he talks about the stories. Specifically in this instance, it wasn't Iraq that kicked them out. It was the Zionists that formulated all of this. And I think it's such an interesting thing to look at.
Here's what I gathered. He was born in 1945, so after the Farhud. The Zionist operation of Ezra Nehemiah was Israel facilitating the immigration of all of Iraq's Jews into Israel. Given everything that we know about Iraq today, what do you think would have happened to the Jews of Iraq had they stayed in Iraq?
Two groups of people lost their homes almost simultaneously. One side built a new nation. The other side was left stateless, scattered across refugee camps in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, and Syria. Most Arab states didn't let the displaced Palestinians relocate within their borders. I did a video about why, and so far, it's the most popular video I've ever made. So the 1948 war determined that a Jewish state would exist, but what would happen to the Palestinians who had lost their land? Israelis saw the war as a matter of survival and independence. To Palestinians, it was dispossession. Either way, 1948 cemented the divide that defines the conflict to this day. Now, let me pull back and talk about the Palestinian identity for a minute, because it's changed a lot over the past century. Before 1948, Arabic-speaking Muslims and Christians who lived in Palestine, they didn't really think of themselves as a separate nation. Their sense of belonging was local.
They still called themselves Palestinians. As I mentioned earlier in this video, in 1911, there was a newspaper called Palestine. In the newspaper, they referred to themselves as Palestinians.
Let's pull up the Palestine newspaper that he's so proud of. Yes, it was founded by Arabs, but it was focusing on an Arab nationalist movement of Palestinians. And if Palestinians are the indigenous population of Palestine, how come they can't even pronounce the indigenous name? And why was it Palestine and not Palestine?
Under Ottoman rule, the area wasn't even an official province called Palestine.
Yes, it was. It was Ottoman Palestine.
Under British rule, the word Palestinian still didn't mean what it does today. Early on,
it did, but Zionists tried to change it. They called themselves Palestinian. They tried to change the meaning of Palestinian, but it always meant what we mean by it.
And what do you mean by it? Are we trying to change the meaning of what Palestinian means, or does the meaning just doesn't agree with his propaganda?
Anyone living in the British Mandate could be called Palestinian. In fact, some of the best-known Palestinian institutions were actually Jewish, like the Palestine Post newspaper, which later became the Jerusalem Post, and the Palestinian Symphony Orchestra.
And the soccer team even, okay? Like, yeah, sure, these are good examples of how they were trying to steal our identity, not that they were the real Palestinians.
What? So Jesus was Palestinian and we're trying to steal their identity?
Political committees, local leaders, they started using the term Palestinian to describe themselves as a distinct community within the Arab world, even though they remained Arab, just like it could be both French and European. Then, that Arab revolt against the British rule and Jewish immigration helped solidify their identity. Peasants from villages fought alongside urban militants, and the shared struggle gave birth to a more unified sense of a Palestinian people.
There were Arabs fighting alongside Israel in 1948, so this isn't exactly Arab versus Jews or as clean-cut as they're trying to present it.
And for 20 years, the Palestinian cause was folded into a larger Arab cause. Leaders like Egypt's President Nasser promised that all Arabs would unite and that one day they would liberate Palestine. They tried, and once again, made things worse. The war came when President Nasser kicked out UN peacekeepers from the Sinai, closed the Straits of Tiran to Israeli shipping, and gathered troops on Israel's border. And Israel saw what was coming and struck first. It was the sixth day.
Bro. This is just a Zionist narrative, man.
Just a Zionist narrative, man.
So this guy is talking about the 6-day war, which we call the Nexa, okay? Where Israel struck against these neighboring countries first, which is what he said, but he justified it by saying that Egypt was gonna attack and all these things, which there was just no proof of any of that. There was no solid proof that Egypt was going to attack. There just wasn't. No solid proof.
So Egypt had expelled the UN emergency peacekeeping force and removed the safety buffer zone. Then Egypt massed tens of thousands of troops in Sinai and closed the Strait of Tiran. And at the same time, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria were all forming a military alliance together. Here's what the Egyptian president himself said on May 26th of 1967.
The battle will be a general one, and our basic objective will be to destroy Israel.
Yes, that kind of gaslighting is not gonna work anymore.
For Israelis, the occupation was about security. For Palestinians, the occupation was theft and slow.
It's not about security. If occupation was about security, which it's not, they are lying to you, why would they put 700,000 Israelis or Jewish people in the occupation in the West Bank? If they're so scared of the Palestinians in the West Bank, why are you putting 1 million of your own people in there?
We're not putting 1 million of our people over there, right? The people who do go to live in Judea and Samaria, because West Bank is not its real name, how is the indigenous West Bank in the east of Palestine, first of all? And if this isn't about security and we're lying to you, where would all the Jews that got ethnically cleansed from the Middle East will go to now?
The PLO staged hijackings and terrorist attacks against Israelis and Western targets. Another Palestinian faction attacked Jewish athletes at the Munich Olympics, killing 9 of the athletes. This terrorism hardened Israel and a lot of American attitudes, and it made peace seem impossible. Was it thievery, or really a clash of 2 national movements with lots of shared history and trauma? Too many people want stories with simple victims and simple villains. I usually can't give that to you, and I certainly can't give that to you here. The world is too nuanced.
No. I don't know about this video. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of it. And he completely ignored so many important facts of ours that, that define who we are and why we are fighting for what we're fighting. He completely left out everything that's going on today. I think the reason he stopped the video before he got into what's happening today is because it's just like, you cannot defend Israel for what they are doing today, like at all. The Nakba, it was so long ago and whatever, even though my grandfather's older than Israel, but people can claim it was long ago and like, why should you care about it anymore? And it's too late and whatever. But the genocide is happening as we speak. And I think that's why he probably doesn't want to talk about it. I'm just assuming.
So I'm here in Canada because I had to escape their genocide.
I do not think this is as complicated as he's making it seem. It is very easy to understand. There's an occupier and then there's an occupied. Okay, there is an oppressor and then there's an oppressed. Interesting video. I disagree with a lot of things here, and I disagree with the framing of a lot of different things. I mean, at the end, he's just focused on like, at the end, he kind of said that Palestinians were the ones that made peace impossible, which is just kind of insane to say.
And they keep trying to reduce this to a simple binary oppressed oppressor, but that's not reality. And that type of reduction is very dangerous, especially when dealing with nuanced topics.
Peace deals that were offered to us, I don't know how many of them, 7 or 8 of them is what the Zionist people claim, but they were never offered in good faith. There was always something missing from making us our own nation state like any other in those peace deals. And I think that's a very important point as well, which he didn't mention. There were many points that he didn't mention. I mean, the reason that Hamas and all of these resistance groups exist in the first place is because of the occupation. The reason that these quote-unquote terrorist attacks happen is because of the occupation and the oppression and the Nakba, you know what I mean? And I don't know, just Zionism at the end of the day. And
I don't know, just Zionism at the end of the day. And
I think he didn't really focus on Zionism too much, which is what is the problem. That is the main issue that we are dealing with here.
The main issue is just Jews living in Israel. Notice how the Jews that were ethnically cleansed from all these Arab lands are now Zionists and are bad and deserve of being killed even though they have nowhere else to go. And then Hamas and all the other groups and all the hate is just a response to all the buzzwords.
Are you supportive of Hamas? Yes.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Are most Palestinians?
Yeah.
Palestinian people like Hamas.
I'm with the resistance.
Did you see the videos they posted of what they did on October 7th?
Everything.
You're okay with all that?
With everything they did.
So yeah, notice how it's never their own fault for anything. There's always justification. It's always simple and it's never their fault. It's always the Zionists. It's no matter what. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate all of you that are here, and thank you for sticking with me. So if you like this kind of content and you want to watch history in real time, subscribe because we're only getting started.